people in, other countries, they don't even know. And they have two extra steps to take. We've already taken those steps, gathered everybody up, announced it to the world, made sure that it actually happens. It's the toughest step. Then we ruin it all, in a downward spiral, giving it to good-looking people or good-sounding people who had nothing to do with Islam. They never said they're going to be taking care of, the Islamic side of things. They actually were repulsed by Islam. We, in our own inferiority complexes, made sure that people from Liaquat Ali Khan to Yahya Khan and Musharraf and Imran Khan, all of these people come in and take the throne, even though they never ever said that they're going to do it the Islamic way. They're going to make it a center of Islam. No, they never said
But
it.
let's say for the people, because of our audience, we'll say this for the people here. What should they do?
Three things, four things, but one thing Australia is going to take care of it anyway. Your moral capital is coming from moral values of the West, which is okay. They had a system, and system binds people together. And if everybody's bound together in a tighter string of law, then morality, grows naturally. Morality does not grow individually. Morality grows as groups.
Yeah.
Okay, we behave with each other under certain laws, and our moral fiber, strengthens.
So saying Muslims should be together.
Yeah, of course, that's primary. But since Australia had a law, the Western value system was Commonwealth. Victoria did most of the work. Now every Australian is morally better Muslims than Muslims of Pakistan or India.
Yeah.
You come in here, you spend a day here, you're going to find out.
Yeah.
They're morally behaving way more, they're way better in their behavior than Muslims in the dominant countries of Islam. Okay, where Islam is dominant, like Pakistan or Bangladesh or Afghanistan. So, how does that work? It works it's a simple, understanding of how human beings come together.
Yeah.
Morality is innate. It's a demand of every human being. So we're all tightly knit together. We're going to behave morally because that comes from within. And it's a natural demand. It's based on fairness and empathy.
Yeah.
Do you see empathy in Muslim-dominated areas? No. You see empathy in Western-dominated. That's where they start from. The word empathy is literally, I'm not being, sarcastic here. This is not a metaphor. Muslims have never used this word empathy in Muslim-dominated countries like Pakistan, Bangladesh, India. They don't even know this word exists.
Even though the Prophet ﷺ was most empathetic.
Yeah. You have to understand how this problem is. There is no word of empathy in Urdu. You know that? They didn't even come up with the word of empathy in Urdu. The most basic reason of why Western civilizations are prospering as, great human beings with each other, whatever. I'm talking about, your basic dealings with each other. So, you're a regular guy on the street, working in the office, coming home every day, driving around, making sure he doesn't break any law. This is all based on empathy. You need to understand the way you and I have to behave with our families and friends and, everybody who's going to be in our community is based on empathy. And there's no word for empathy in my language. Do you think I'm going to be trained on creating systems?
Yeah.
No. So who's going to train me? Wherever this word is, practiced daily with a sense of justice that if I don't, I need to be punished. It is a demand of empathy that I better be punished because I need the other guy to be punished if he breaks that law. You understand me?
Yeah.
So you take the moral capital from Australia, man. And then you take another thing from Australia, the financial capital. Okay? Your moral capital and the financial capital should come from the Western systems. Okay? And then your political capital can be taken from Australia as well, even though Australia is practically a nobody in the bigger game. Yeah. But it's way bigger than Pakistan. So learn how to do all of this, create influence, become a lot more eloquent in the way you understand this world. Your world view should be way better and well constructed. In Melbourne,
how do you make that world
you read,
better?
You understand how
Read what?
the political science of how things are working, the systems, what's going on around the American side and the Chinese side and the Russian side, and how human beings are behaving around this. Okay? In Pakistan, you don't even get real news. You don't even have books to read all of this.
Yeah. Do you have some book recommendations for the youth here?
Yeah, first of all, for Muslims, for Muslim youth, I need them to start with Sira. That is the finest book on political science.
Yeah.
Okay, get the stencil in. Then you're going to measure any other, philosophy or technology or technique or behavior. Our stencil is our prophet. We have to go through political science as a subject and start chapter 1, Siratul Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Okay?
So, what book do you recommend in the Sirah?
Well, there's no one book on Sira. Sira is a history of the Prophet.
Just
Sallallahu
as
Alaihi
a
Wasallam.
starter, would you
Start
say?
with get as much as you can, as much content as you can, because every writer has certain limitations of time and wherever he's writing from. So, the more writers you're going to read, the more understanding you're going to have to understand the psychology and the philosophy of the Prophet ﷺ around little and big things.
So, you recommend the Sirah. Is there any other books you would like to recommend?
Well, no, for now, you go into understanding the history, read history. If you do not know history, you're not supposed to comment on anything. Read the history of at least 5 regions on this planet: Rome, Greece, Jerusalem, Medina, and in modern history, you go through America, and Europe, and England,
Yeah.
and so this is history. Once you understand the history, you're going to find out why things are behaving the way countries are behaving, nations are behaving the way they're behaving. You have to go a little further back in time.
Because they say history repeats itself.
Because human beings behave the way they behave. We are who we are. That's the real way of saying history repeats itself. Okay, we are who we are. So we as individuals are always going to behave as the way we are, and even if there's a change, it's going to be so minuscule you can't even read it off the map in the longer run. And as a group, we've always behaved the way we are behaving. Okay, that's why we need to read history to understand how human beings have behaved. Okay, as people and as individuals.
So, if I'm right, correct me if I'm wrong. Some of the advice you gave is to basically for the Muslim youth here to come together, sort of. In one
No,
body.
not come together, not just come together. First of all, moral capital, financial capital, political capital. Understand this is basic.
Yeah.
Okay, this is basic, and if we cannot connect these things together with everybody else in the 2 billion community of Muslims, then we are the cancer cell of cancer is a cell of our body.
Yeah.
Okay, but it starts behaving individually in isolation against the policies of and the processes of the body. So we are a practical example of any cancer cell if you're not behaving as one body. So how do we do that? We connect everybody. That's hence the political influence in Australia. Muslims better understand why they're actually becoming politically savvy. Okay, and if they're not going to understand why, they're never going to do it in the first place. Okay, so once you know that you need to connect with Muslims in Sudan and Indonesia and Malaysia and Pakistan and India and the Arabs, you need to make sure that you do. I'll tell you something, and if you think, oh, it's too larger than life, you cannot do that, I'll tell you how easy it is, and you're already doing it. If I tell you to launch a product on YouTube or social media for your business reasons, you are going to connect it to Sudan and Somalia and Egypt and Afghanistan, Pakistan, because that's your consumer base. You're going to be a billionaire, and for that, you need to connect with 2 billion consumers, right?
Yeah.
So if you can do that there, and you would know exactly how to strategize all of this, why can't you do it for Allah Azza wa Jalla in the Day of Judgment?
So I want to stay on that point a bit. Thing is, the youth here and a lot of in the Western countries, they have all the energy to make money and this that. I want you to tell me the concept of wealth in Islam.
Well, wealth is nothing if you not understand what's it for. Most of the wealth on the model that we're living our lives on is not going to be spent by us or our kids. Okay, it's going to go into some savings to mitigate the fear that we have of the worst case scenarios we keep building in our heads.
Yeah.
Most of the money we make is so that we won't use it. That's the ideology around making money of a man who's alive right now.
Hmm.
He wants to keep it so that he would want to use it whenever the time be. Okay?
Yeah.
That's the philosophy of money right now. I am telling you, that's not even 1% of the kind of money that's going to travel through your banks if you have the right purpose. Be spenders on your purpose. Do not become collectors. Okay? If you want to spend and you need to spend on your purpose, you need a lot of money. You need a lot more money. I need Muslims to be way, way more wealthier.
Okay, so you actually want them to be richer.
Yeah, a lot more, million time more. But as spenders on the right things with the purpose that we're gonna have to.
And what's the right things?
I'll give you a case study. Israel.
Yeah.
Why do you think Jews are so rich and powerful?
Israel.
Oh, you telling me, right? Yeah, Israel. If there was no concept of Israel, Jews would not be that powerful. And Israel just came about 70 years ago. Jews has been powerful for a thousand years. They already had that concept. They were trying to build it. They were connected with that concept of Israel. And that concept gave them enough energy and sustenance to become powerful.
Yeah.
The kind of philosophy that I and you have as Muslims, we're never going to be rich. A human being does not have the energy to sustain his own fascination. Let me repeat that. A human mind is never going to have, a human being is never going to have that energy to sustain his fascinations. So he's never going to be rich enough that I require him to be. That's why you see, complacency coming in. People just getting used to it. You're just getting lazy and procrastinating over bigger decisions, even for money. But if I have a purpose to make money, then I will never lose that fascination of making money. Yeah. Okay, a bigger purpose, way wider of a scope, then I'd make 1,000,000 times more money, and I would never lose the energy.
Because a lot of the youth here, I've seen one thing in common. They all say they want to be rich. They want to be rich. So if they could drive that energy towards,
A bigger,
spending money,
stronger purpose. Yeah. Oh my God, they'd be richer. But then you know what? They wouldn't really need that money if they had the right purpose. We'll talk about that some other day. Go on. What's the next question?
All right. I'll just wrap up this point first. So I was talking about what a Muslim used to do. You said sort of build a capital, read the seerah, read history books. Is there anything else you want to mention about this?
About
the action steps a Muslim used to take
at your age. Yeah. That's what I'm talking to, a 16-year-old right now. That's what I'm saying. Do right now. I'm just giving you a concept of moral, mental, political, and financial. Moral, mental, political, financial. These 4 capitals you need to gain. But right now, your mental capital is during the age where you need to gain mental capital. You're not supposed to think money right now. You're supposed to think IQ, exposure, intelligence, knowledge, truth. These are your assets right now at your age. Dollar is not your asset. Big car, no. Girls, no. Your asset at your age is IQ, intellect, knowledge, understanding, comprehension, truth. These are your pillars of development.
And you think reading books is the best way to enhance that?
Finest way, yeah. That's the best way. But meeting people, working with people, working on projects, that's going to give you skills and sense. You can't just sit around the house and read books and think, you know what, you're capable. No, you're not capable.
You have to apply that.
Yeah, test it. See if it works.
So you said moral, political, financial, and
mental.
All right, so I want to talk about some of the problems the youth faces here, and like how to sort of get away from it. One common theme I've noticed is everyone is addicted to some sort of thing, whether it's porn, weed, or Instagram, all these instant gratification kind of stuff. They're all, it's like, you know, the circle thing the hamster runs into. It's basically they're running into the same cycle again and again. First they say I'm going to stop, and then they end up back there again. So my question to you is,
Call a hamster wheel.
hamster wheel, yeah. So my question to you is sort of, how do you break free from that sort of? It's basically like chains. You're chained. You
A
can't
purpose. Hamster wheel is the antonym of a purpose.
Hmm.
If you have a purpose, then you are going to run faster. You know what I'm saying? But you're going to be running towards a certain, goal. When you don't have a purpose, you're still going to be running. This planet is going to make you run, but that's just a hamster wheel. So from this addiction to that addiction, what do you think? Kids are into these four things? No. You're going to, 10 years older, look at your father or his father or whatever, those age people here.
Yeah.
They're going to have different kind of addictions, but they are going to be still addicted. Hamster wheels. Chasing that status quo of, bigger cars and making that cut over his circle of friends that, I'm better off than these 10 people. That's the statement of success.
So that's basically the main problem nowadays.
Yeah,
Chasing
another
cars.
hamster wheel. You just see, if you're stuck in a smaller hamster wheel, you're going to actually get fascinated by a bigger wheel. So it's not the wheel,
Yeah.
it's the philosophy. That's the problem.
So you said to break free from that, you need purpose.
Single center. That's our purpose right now. We are in a political catastrophe.
So you're saying this is our purpose right now. Does our purpose change over time, or the purpose of Islam is always having one single center?
No. Right now we lost our center. Once you have the center, then human progress of intellect and sense, reaching toward the stars, understanding God.
But for now, our purpose.
Yeah. First, that's what I'm saying. My house is on fire. I can't talk about Harvard degrees right now. I want to see where the next fire station is or where the fire truck is coming, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're saying the best way to break free from addictions and all this sort of
Yeah.
stuff is
You need
purpose.
to settle yourself into a different, a total different set of actions to take care of my, bigger problems. So most of the people who are going to be stuck in addictions, you'll see a correlation between them and ignorance. Basically, they won't even know how or what to do in generally in life. They'll be your regular hippies.
And this is not a small problem, by the way. It's like a very
I know most of the
whole
people. Yeah.
people's whole lives are like based on this hamster wheel.
Yeah, because they're not trained into understanding why we're here. It takes a lot of training. Not that much if you're a child. It takes a lot if you're 40 plus.
Yeah.
At your age, it's pretty easy. You understand because you're emotionally, experiencing the whole planet. Once you're really told, trained, and settled into that, there's a purpose of life. You can't just die an ordinary man who did nothing except, he take care of himself or his family. That's not by Islam. That's not a job of a Muslim.
What do you think causes sadness and depression? Especially here. It's very,
Depression is a gift. Okay.
really.
Yeah, it is a gift. It is the voice of the inside telling you that you need a bigger philosophy, man. You need a purpose.
Same thing.
Yeah, same thing. Depression is a symptom of your body telling you that you didn't figure it out yet, man. Why aren't you figuring out the core of the first job, the bigger job, the biggest job? If you cannot understand that, then you're gonna try and do whatever you can, and then you're gonna end up in depression.
So another thing is, sort of people my age, 16 to 25, should they basically, how can they manage school, this, that? Should they like put themselves into everything, or should they like lay back a little bit? What sort of
I'll
your
give you an
advice?
example. In the Cold War, Russians came up with this
Yeah.
philosophy of Mother Russia, and they have to say Mother Russia and build it up. Every school curriculum was designed around it. Every parenting model was designed around it. So they had a purpose of going to school, not for themselves, but as a community, right? For the whole country, for Mother Russia. Where do you think came up with this concept of Mother Russia? Who came up with this? Who came up with this Akhand Bharat concept? Who came up with this Israeli Zionist concept? The Macedonian Greek concept? The Victorian English concept? One center, everybody involved. Who came up with this? See, why do humans actually behave the way they behave? They behave by for creating a single center, and we call it imperialism now. Okay, to dominate everybody under your laws and your rules, and your regulations. That's innate. Human beings are designed to live in a community, and for that community to have equal and fairness, across the board, we need a single body deciding all of this. Okay.
I had another question. Since we can see divorce rates are going through the roof and dating is increasing in the modern day, so why do you think that is, and what can we do to sort of fix it up?
Divorce? Did you say divorce rates?
Yeah,
Oh.
just relationships in general, you know.
Well, generally we are we're in such a high level of dopamine addiction.
Yeah,
It's made us selfish. If I just said selfish, it would have been a philosophical answer. Now put dopamine in. It's an answer with a solution. Okay. The more you are selfish, the more selfish you are, the higher your probability to divorce your wife or husband. Simple.
and why are we so selfish now?
Because we're trained into believing that's what I'm saying, that I am independently going to decide and that everything is for me and I want everything. Okay, all I need is everything. So that's a regular philosophy of every, especially Westerners. Okay, they call it liberation and the American dream and whatever. You need to understand that it's causing a lot more deterrence in the individual psychology of the rest of the planet. And I'm not blaming just America. Every mother and father of Pakistan is actually doing literally way better job of making sure their kids are living the American dream than George Washington himself. So it's not the American dream. It's the concept, a twisted concept of, liberating human beings from even morality, even, your social requirements of living in a community. That's why you see isolation as men, not just as couples, not as relatives, not as fathers or mothers. As regular men and women, we have been isolated because of the fumes of capitalism does not allow anybody else to breathe other than myself around my areas or wherever I deem is my space.
When we see the Muslim youth sort of, developing to join gangs and they're trying to, whenever they hear the name of Islam, to sort of say, I'm going to see it later when I grow up and this, that. The sort of, there's dislike for Islam from the youth that I've seen.
I would dislike the kind of Islam these folks have given me. It has no solutions, not as an individual, not as a community, as a group. And Muslim youth, whoever goes into gangs and whatever, those boys, they're trying to chase pride, a sense of pride. When you do not have a single community, how are you going to define or give pride to your kids? You know what I'm saying? So it is a natural reaction that these kids are going to actually, chase these sort of avenues. Of course, they're wrong, and of course, they're perverted, they're twisted, they're mutated. That's the worst a human being can do. Try and join gangs and try and do whatever they can just to bully themselves into life. That's as low as that's the bottom of the barrel. But how did and why did it happen? They never got the identity. If you do not have a single center, you do not have identities. There is no identity called Pakistan or Indian or Bengali Muslim. Okay? This is not an identity. A Muslim is a Muslim regardless of whether he's born in America, Canada, Antarctica, or the Bering Sea. He's a Muslim because he's connected to the center. His laws come from there. His rights and wrongs come from there. His morality comes. His definition of progress comes from there.
Yeah.
Okay? What else do you think identity is? And he's demanded by the center to work for the center. Okay, that's identity. I'm busy because I've got a job. My boss is up there. I've got a job. There are no off days. That's my identity. I'm a political being. I got to create influence. Make sure I stop the evil from my own hand first. That's my identity. How are you going to do that as Pakistanis in India? No, you can't. Pakistanis in China. No, you can't. Pakistanis in Mecca. No, you can't. That's the worth of a nationalist identity. You can't even stop the evil in any other place. Such worthless human beings are going to be depressed and trying to find, petty avenues of gangs and tattoos and whatnot.
Yeah. So what is the difference that we are not like the early Muslims?
That is the difference. We had a single center with Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself defining that center, being in that center, torching everything with the light of, the Quran. Every single thing.
How do you make a single center now that we have so many sects? You got Shia, Sunni, Hanbali, so many different things now.
That's one of the
But
main.
now you got nationalism as well, so it's even worse.
Yeah, and it's going to be a lot more now. Gender identity is going to be different as well. Everything is going to be scattered, and individual group level. Yeah. Hence, the bigger need of mental capital first. You're going to argue yourself into it. Somebody has argued us out of it. You need to argue yourself into it. Okay, people want a sensible argument. You better put weight into your arguments. That's your influence. How do you think they got us out of it? They argued people out of it. They didn't force us out of it. Somebody gave the concept of, this nation state and all of that. Commonwealth is a bigger concept than Australia or England combined. A Commonwealth is a single center. You see, Australia cannot prosper without Commonwealth, nor England, nor anybody else. Why do you think they didn't change the laws in Australia? Why didn't they change the English laws? It was a sensible thing to do. That's what I'm saying. Create the sense now. Express the sense. Okay?
I have a question for myself, because this is doubting me a little bit.
Go on.
We see Muslims struggling around the world. China, Kashmir, Palestine. My question is, if God is so merciful and Rahman Rahim, why is He allowing this to happen?
Allowing death to happen?
Of Muslims, yeah.
Muslims. Like a non-Muslim death is also.
Yeah, even that.
Yeah. Your grandfather alive? His father? Was he a murderer? So his death is justified just because he died a 90-year-old? Why does a 90-year-old guy, why is it okay for a 90-year-old guy to die and not a 9-year-old?
I mean, the massacre or like the bloodshed that's going on. Why is
In
it?
Muslims, bloodshed has been going on in every part of the world.
Yeah.
That's a test for human beings, not for God. God has put us to a test. We are not putting God to a test. Okay? If God was doing anything, that would be like, why is God doing this? God has put us in a test. And we are saying God is doing this. You want God to come in and intervene directly and say, you know what, I'm not going to let this happen? That's what you're saying, right? That's what the day of judgment is for. This is the bigger test. He's not going to come in the middle of a test.
That's right.
Okay?
So sort of the problems that Muslims deal with here. What's the best way to deal with Islamophobia?
Rational argumentation.
Problem is a lot of LGBT stuff being taught at school. How do you sort of deal with that? And
Yeah, you deal with training parents because they're sincere with their kids. Tell them that, if a 6-year-old could take any kind of decision, we would have given him or her those kind of decisions. For example, vote for the president, drink, drive a car. But a 6-year-old cannot make those kind of decisions. And you're actually telling him to drive his life, making critical changes to his body which is irrecoverable, irreversible. You know what I'm saying? If you cannot take those kind of decisions, why are you making him take those kind of? So this is preposterous to teach all of this in school. You can teach them in university and colleges, and by that time you will be literally argued out of campuses as whoever is going to put an argument there. But unless you teach kids any kind of philosophy, any kind of change, any kind of definition, any kind of value, if you're starting with kids, it's going to be long lasting, deeper in impact, bigger in repercussions, good or bad. So if you're putting all of this in school, then you're, making sure that catastrophe is upon us. Making sure of it. It's not by a fluke that they went to schools. It's not by fluke. It is done by design. You want Islam to be in schools, right? The church wants Christianity to be in school. Why? Because we believe that it is right. So we want those values to be in kids so that they can grow into it. So anything goes into school, there's a belief system behind this. So when they went into this, LGBT went into school, I was like, okay, you know what? Now there's a belief system behind this. Do you get that? So so that means there's a big body of think tanks running all of this. With a lot of politics.
And I'll sort of end on discussion and I'll wrap it up. On this note, do you think it's recommended for Muslims to live? On your opinion, do you think it's better for Muslims to live in a Muslim country or a non-Muslim country?
There are no Muslim countries, so live wherever you can right now. That's what I'm chasing for. Make a Muslim country so that everybody can prosper wherever they are. And they can prosper themselves and the Muslim country. But there is no Muslim country. Name a Muslim country. So this notion is sitting on a redundant conception of, Muslim countries. There is no Muslim country. Right now, the question would be: should we go to places where our moral capital is going to go up? Yeah. Well, Australia is going to raise your moral capital versus what, Pakistan? Of course. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Where mental capital is going to go up? Yeah, of course. Political capital is going to go up. You need to do that. You cannot do that in Pakistan. Financial capital, of course. If there is a weaker or weakest Muslim country in the world as well, you need to go there or be out for the purpose of prospering that by financing it or, making more money and sending it there. But there is no Muslim country. I don't even recommend Muslims sending money to Pakistan unless, of course, they change the model of their governance to Islam. Otherwise, we're helping Pakistan out of Islam, man. We're ensuring it. So that's how it is.
So I'll just wrap it all up. So you mentioned science is in the Quran, and we should excel in that. You mentioned the issue of Palestine. You cannot compare it with you cannot compare Israel with Hamas. You mentioned what the youth should do here,
Yeah.
which is to wake up and sort of build one body and read the seerah, get into political, financial, mental, moral sort of areas. And you said the Quran is our headquarter, meaning our center.
Yeah.
And we should follow it.
Yeah.
Full on. So would you suggest the youth to learn Arabic as well?
They use what in Arabic?
Would you suggest the youth to learn Arabic as well?
Youth, yeah. Suggest. I think that's the bare minimum requirement. Otherwise, you need somebody else to tell you what Allah is saying. Why don't you just listen to him himself by reading and understand the Arabic? If you cannot speak Arabic, I'm sorry, you're going to have a lot of problems.
Yeah.
A lot of problems. Then you won't be able to gain that mental capital, at least not to that degree.
And you mentioned to break free from addiction, you need a purpose. So That's sort of. Would you like to say anything else before to the Muslim youth here?
I would like to say that there are no flukes in Islam. There are no flukes in the Sunnah of Allah. You're here by design. There's a purpose. You're not here by chance.
Mm.
You were put here. Understand your value here, and understand whatever you can gain here. Your knowledge, your sense and attributes, your skills. Gain them here. Make sure you put them to use wherever they are needed in the world. If you were in Pakistan or India or wherever, you wouldn't have been able to put it globally at use for whatever purpose. And I'm telling you a purpose, the purpose. Make sure you're the strongest Australian in the world. If you're not the strongest Australian in the world, how the hell are you going to be the strongest Muslim in the world?
Yeah, so that means we have a high responsibility.
Way bigger responsibility. If Australia is not prospering because of you, you think you're going to prosper Islam? So you need to be mentally competent, morally the finest person, financially the strongest person, politically the most influential, the biggest activist.
Mm.
Okay. So you make sure you understand you have a way bigger chance, way bigger handicap that you have to do than a regular Pakistani in Lahore. That's how it is.
Okay, thank you for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me, buddy.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.